White Lady's Hitchhiking Haunt. It was a typical Friday night in the small town of Donna, Texas. High school students Alex and Haley were looking for something to do, and they had heard about the local legend of the woman in white who haunted a stretch of road on the outskirts of town. They decided to investigate and see if there was any truth to the legend. As they drove down the dark, deserted road, they talked about the story they had heard. "Do you really believe that there's a ghost out here?" Haley asked, half jokingly. Alex shrugged. "I don't know, but it's worth checking out, right?" As they drove, they started to feel a sense of unease. The road was lined with trees, and there was no sign of life anywhere. The silence was broken only by the sound of their car's engine and the occasional hoot of an owl. Suddenly, Haley let out a gasp. "Look!" she exclaimed, pointing to a figure on the side of the road. "It's her!" Alex slammed on the brakes, and they both stared in shock at the figure standing in front of them. It was a woman dressed in a white dress, her long hair blowing in the wind. She was holding out her hand, as if asking for a ride. "Should we pick her up?" Alex asked uncertainly. Haley hesitated. "I don't know, man. This is kinda creepy." But before they could make a decision, the woman in white disappeared. They looked around, but there was no sign of her anywhere. "Did you see that?" Haley asked, her voice trembling. Alex nodded, his heart racing. "Yeah, I saw it. Let's get out of here." As they drove away, they both felt a sense of relief. But at the same time, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. "That was crazy," Haley said, still in shock. "Do you think it was really her?" "I don't know," Alex replied, shaking his head. "But we're going to find out." Little did they know, their encounter with the woman in white was just the beginning of a series of strange and terrifying events that would change their lives forever. The next day, Alex and Haley couldn't stop thinking about their encounter with the woman in white. They decided to ask around town to see if anyone knew anything about the legend. They started with their classmates at school, but no one had any information about the woman in white. Finally, they decided to ask their history teacher, Mr. Gomez, who had grown up in Donna. "Ah, yes, the woman in white," Mr. Gomez said, nodding his head knowingly. "I remember hearing stories about her when I was a kid. It's an old urban legend in these parts." "Can you tell us more about her?" Haley asked eagerly. Mr. Gomez cleared his throat. "The story goes that the woman in white was killed in a car accident on that road many years ago. Since then, she's been seen by drivers who pass by, always dressed in a white dress and always looking for a ride home." "But why does she need a ride home?" Alex asked, confused. "No one knows for sure," Mr. Gomez replied. "Some say that she's still looking for her killer, or that she wants to make sure her family knows what happened to her. Others say that she's just lost and confused and can't find her way home." Alex and Haley nodded, taking in the information. As they left the classroom, they decided to go back to the road that night to see if they could find the woman in white again. That night, they drove down the road, searching for any sign of the woman. As they drove, they saw a figure in the distance. It was the woman in white, standing on the side of the road once again. "Stop the car!" Haley shouted. Alex pulled over, and they rolled down the window. "Do you need a ride?" he called out. The woman in white nodded, and they unlocked the doors. She got in the back seat and gave them an address. As they drove, the woman didn't say a word. She just sat in the back seat, staring out the window. The silence was unnerving, and Alex and Haley exchanged nervous glances. Finally, they arrived at the address the woman had given them. She got out of the car and disappeared into the darkness. "That was weird," Haley said, breaking the silence. "Yeah," Alex agreed. "I wonder who she was." Little did they know their decision to give the woman in white a ride would have disastrous consequences. A few days after their encounter with the woman in white, Alex and Haley noticed that strange things were happening. Cars were crashing on the road where they had picked up the woman in white, and people were getting hurt. At first, they didn't think anything of it. But then, They started to wonder if there was a connection between the accidents and the woman in white. "We have to go back to that road and investigate," Alex said to Haley one day after school. "I don't know if that's a good idea," Haley replied hesitantly. "We have to figure out what's going on," Alex insisted. "Maybe there's something we can do to stop it." That night, they drove back to the road, but this time they parked their car and walked around. As they walked, they heard strange noises coming from the trees. "What was that?" Haley whispered. "I don't know," Alex said, shining his flashlight in the direction of the sound. "Let's go check it out." As they walked deeper into the woods, they saw something that made their blood run cold. It was the woman in white, standing in front of a crashed car. "Oh my God," Haley whispered. "Is that what I think it is?" Alex nodded grimly. "It looks like she's causing these accidents." The woman in white turned around and looked at them. Her eyes were cold and empty, and she didn't say a word. "We have to get out of here," Haley said, her voice trembling. As they turned to run, they heard a loud screeching noise. They looked back and saw that the woman in white had vanished and the crashed car had disappeared. The next day, Alex and Haley went to the police to report what they had seen. The police were skeptical, but they promised to investigate. Over the next few weeks, there were no more accidents on the road where they had seen the woman in white. The town breathed a sigh of relief, and Alex and Haley were hailed as heroes. But they knew the truth. They knew that the woman in white was still out there, haunting the roads of Donna, waiting for her next victim. Alex and Haley couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story of the woman in white. They knew that she had been causing the accidents on the road, but they didn't know why. One day, while doing research at the library, they came across an old newspaper article. It was from the 1960s, and it told the story of a woman who had died in a car accident on the same road where they had seen the woman in white. According to the article, the woman's name was Emily, and she had been driving home from a party when she crashed her car. Her body had never been found, and people believed that she was still out there, haunting the road. "This has to be the woman in white," Alex said, showing the article to Haley. "We have to find out more about Emily and what happened to her." They spent the next few days talking to people in the town and doing more research. They learned that Emily had been engaged to a man named John, but he had broken off their engagement just before she died. "Maybe she's looking for John?" Haley suggested. "Maybe she wants revenge?" Alex nodded. "It's worth looking into." They found out that John was still living in Donna and went to talk to him. He was an old man now, but he remembered Emily well. "I loved her, but I was young and foolish," he said. "I broke her heart, and she never forgave me." He told them that after Emily's death, he had seen her ghost on the road many times. She would appear in front of his car, causing him to swerve and crash. "I think she's still looking for me," he said. "I've been living in fear for all these years." Alex and Haley knew that they had to do something to help John and put Emily's spirit to rest. They came up with a plan to take John to Emily's crash site and talk to her. They drove to the site, and as they walked towards the spot where Emily had crashed, they saw her standing in front of them, dressed in her white gown. "Emily," Alex said, "we know why you're here. You're looking for John." Emily looked at them with sad eyes. "I just want him to know how much he hurt me," she said. John stepped forward. "Emily, I'm sorry," he said. "I never meant to hurt you. Please forgive me." Emily looked at him for a long moment, and then she vanished into thin air. The wind picked up, and leaves rustled around them. The three of them stood there in silence for a few moments, and then John turned to Alex and Haley. "I think she's finally at peace," he said, smiling for the first time in years. Alex and Haley nodded, feeling a sense of relief. They had helped put Emily's spirit to rest and had solved the mystery of the woman in white. With the mystery of the woman in white finally solved, life in Donna went back to normal. People stopped talking about the accidents on the road, and the town went back to its quiet ways. But Alex and Haley couldn't forget about their experience. They had seen a ghost and had helped put her to rest. It was something that would stay with them forever. One day, a few weeks after their encounter with Emily's ghost, Haley received a letter in the mail. It was from John, thanking them for helping him and apologizing for getting them involved. "He's a sweet old man," Haley said, smiling. "I'm glad we were able to help him." Alex nodded. "Me too. It's not every day you get to solve a mystery like that." They both agreed that their experience had been life-changing. It had made them believe in the supernatural and had brought them closer together as friends. As they walked down the street, they noticed a group of teenagers standing by the side of the road, staring out into the distance. "What are they looking at?" Alex asked. Haley shrugged. "Let's go see." As they got closer, they saw a faint figure in the distance. It was a woman in a white gown, standing by the side of the road. "It's her," Haley whispered, feeling a shiver run down her spine. Alex looked at her, surprised. "What do we do?" Haley took a deep breath. "We do what we did last time. We help her." They walked towards the woman, who was now clearly visible. She was staring out into the distance, looking lost and alone. "Excuse me," Alex said, trying not to startle her. "Are you okay?" The woman turned to them, and they could see that her eyes were filled with tears. "I'm lost," she said. "I don't know where I am." Haley felt her heart break for the woman. "What's your name?" she asked gently. The woman looked at them for a moment, and then she whispered, "Emily." Alex and Haley exchanged a look. They knew that Emily's spirit was still out there, looking for something. "We'll help you, Emily," Alex said, putting a hand on her shoulder. "We know where you need to go." They took her to John's house, and as they walked, Emily told them her story. She had been driving home from a party when her car had gone off the road. She had been looking for John, hoping to reconcile with him. When they arrived at John's house, Emily was hesitant to go in. "I don't want to scare him," she said. Haley smiled. "You won't scare him. He's been waiting for you." They knocked on the door, and John opened it. When he saw Emily, he gasped. "Emily," he said, tears streaming down his face. "You came back to me." Emily smiled at him, and then she vanished into thin air. John turned to Alex and Haley, tears still in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for everything." Alex and Haley smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction. They had helped put Emily's spirit to rest once again. As they walked away, they knew that they would never forget their encounter with the woman in white. It was a story that they would tell for years to come, a story of mystery, horror, and the power of friendship. As soon as the white lady disappeared, the car regained its power, and the engine roared back to life. Maria couldn't believe her eyes and thought it might be a trick of her mind. She rubbed her eyes and checked again. Everything seemed fine, and the car was now driving smoothly. Maria and Jake were both shaken by the ghostly encounter, but they knew they had to continue their journey. As they resumed their drive, both of them were silent, still processing the events of the night. After a few minutes of driving, Jake broke the silence and said, "I can't believe we just saw a ghost. That was the white lady from the legend." Maria nodded in agreement. "I know, it was terrifying, but we have to stay focused and get home safely." The rest of the journey was uneventful, and they arrived home safely. Maria and Jake couldn't stop talking about the encounter with the white lady and how it was the most frightening experience of their lives. Over the next few days, they couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that followed them after the encounter. They decided to do some research on the legend of the white lady and found out that many people had reported seeing her on the same road. They also discovered that the white lady was looking for a ride home to see her children, and that's why she appeared as a hitchhiker. Maria and Jake realized that the white lady was not a malevolent spirit, but a mother's love that transcended death. They also learned that the legend of the white lady was well known in the area, and many people had experienced similar encounters. The encounter with the White Lady changed Maria and Jake's perspective on life. They realized that there are things in this world that are beyond our understanding, and sometimes we just have to accept them. The memory of the White Lady stayed with them forever, and they never forgot the lesson she taught them, to cherish life and the ones we love, for they can be taken away from us at any moment. As they sat down to drink some coffee, Maria said, "I think we should tell our friends about our encounter with the White Lady." Jake nodded. "Yeah, I agree. Maybe it will help them appreciate life a little more." And with that, Maria and Jake's journey with the White Lady came to an end. But the legend of the White Lady continued to haunt the people of Donna, Texas, reminding them of the fragility of life and the power of a mother's love.